I would love for decentralized exchanges to matter more, and I would particularly love for decentralized fiat onboarding gateway exchanges to come online more. And if you can make $1 million a day doing it, go to it, guys.
Well, the funny thing is, you talked about the end game, and this goes back to all that I talked about and thought about in my years in precious metal. The end game, of course, is fiat currency entering the cryptocurrency system. But as you say, how could that possibly happen if A, the exchanges are not equipped for it, and B, the government can be the gatekeeper, like you're seeing in all these, Nationwide Bank here, Australian banks. They can just say, well, we're not going to send to exchanges. We just decided not to. The government ordered it. So you say, well, how is it going to get over there? It's not all going to get there with localbitcoins.com. And the answer is going to be, per what, as Max Kaiser says, I mean, it's really happening. People joke about it, especially when they hear the word. But we are seeing right now the beginnings of a hyperinflation of the dollar and other fiat currencies against Bitcoin. It's the early stages, but this is what we talk about by the wealth transfer. If you are stuck in these fiat currencies when the system decides to convert itself, you are going to see a dramatic decline in your purchasing power against the people who have already gotten their fiat into the crypto system, whether it's Bitcoin or the other winners there. And that's the interesting part of it, because I just can't see a case where there's going to be an increased level of government approval of wires leaving Citibank and going to Gemini, and let alone going to these other crypto exchanges in like Cryptopia in the middle of decentralized exchanges in Asia. So that's the end game, and it's going to be interesting to see who can capitalize in it, or more importantly, who can get their money out first.
I think that you will actually. I think that you will see an increased ease of wiring money to crypto entities. I don't think it's going to get harder. I don't think government regulations are going to get stricter. I think they're going to get less strict. So let's take, for instance, what's happening in South Korea. In South Korea, they had massive FOMO. Buy all the coins now. And it's one of the first countries to have that on a massive scale. And I expect that we'll see that in other countries. And look at what their response has been. The response has been, we want to make sure kids aren't playing this risky game. We want to make sure people aren't laundering money. And we want to make sure that you aren't running away with the money, that you've got good security safeguards in place to protect the coins that are, and the dollars that are on your exchange. Those are all good things. So, so for instance, we talk about Coinbase being important to the ecosystem now because it's got the best onboarding, it's got the best bank relationships so that you can send the money. That is only possible because of the New York law that gave banks a legal standing by which to feel secure opening accounts for Coinbase. So the New York law, which everyone hated, Ben Losky's terrible destroy Bitcoin law, allowed Coinbase to exist, right? So in an ideal world, you wouldn't need it because the regulations would be less scary. But since the regulations are scary, it's a patch, it's a hack, it's a kludge that allows it to work. And you'll see more of those. So South Korea will eventually put a framework in place, some rules, some laws that state you can have an exchange with bank accounts in this country if you meet these guidelines. That's better, not worse. That makes it easier for them to get bank accounts, not worse. That gives the people that use their services more protection, not less. That's bullish, right? That's good. That's midterm, long-term, and for smart people, short-term, good, right? So I think we're going to see more governments providing regulatory certainty regarding the opening and operation of crypto businesses, and that will allow more people to play along, right? Like, let me give you an example of what a really ideal world would look like. When you go to your bank, they want to make money on you. And how do they make money on you? Well, they hope that you overdraft your account and they get to bang you for 30 or 40 bucks. They hope that you accept every offer that they give you, and with every piece of mail they send you and with every phone call that you make, they try and sell you something. They want to sell you insurance, they want to sell you investment plans, they want to sell you everything that they can partner up with somebody and make another dollar on their client base. Well, what if they could sell you crypto? Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great if you wanted to buy Bitcoin, instead of going and onboarding in some new place and sending them all these stupid documents and answering stupid questions about where you got your coins and where you got your money, wouldn't it just be great if you could go to your bank and be like, yeah, transfer this amount of money into my Bitcoin account? That'd be fabulous. Now, what's the only reason we don't have that right now? The only reason we don't have that right now is because of regulatory certainty. As soon as we have regulatory certainty, the banks are going to add crypto, particularly Bitcoin, to their offerings to make money on it, just like they do health insurance, life insurance, travel insurance, gold, right? So the more regulatory certainty we get and the more governments regulate this stuff, the easier and faster it's going to be to get real adoption. And I don't see any country that's issued any law that's been actually bad for Bitcoin. They've all been good. And the harshest law I've seen in any country, I mean, I guess there's some weird little countries that just straight up ban it, like communist countries, like some weird African country. In that case, that'd be an exception. But for real countries that have real GDPs, you know, the only harsh crypto legislation I've seen is where they straight up banned ICOs in China. And I think most ICOs are scams. So now I have an ICO, and it's, you know, you can go to cfdtoken.com and read a little bit about it. So that I will be proud to be a member of the 0.01% of legit awesome projects. But the rest of these projects are terrible. like you should do this business. You should, like, this business should fail before you finish writing the white paper. Like, yeah. So I don't mind that.
Well, you bring up some very interesting points. And the first thing, again, even I try so hard not to do it. I got secular for a second. I got too U.S. centric, because obviously the U.S. has the most to lose of any country from the rise of cryptocurrency, being that we manage the dollar and pretty much have been the superpower based on this fraudulent fiat system. But again, a lot of I'd say half the countries in the world are already just ragingly pro Bitcoin, starting with, say, Japan, which is one of the top countries, and I will bet anything that Switzerland will be on board too, if they aren't already. But the one issue, as far as regulatory easing, which is going to be a sticking point for all countries, is the tax issue. Because whether you're a desperate country just to get commerce and to keep things flowing, or you're a major a country like the U.S., which has a gigantic government that needs taxes, crypto really, really breaks into your tax base. I mean, to me, Bitcoin alone is going to drop the U.S. Tax revenues from the government. It could drop them 50% or more, in which case the government has to shrink, and they will fight that. And that's my major thinking of why it's going to be hard for governments, especially in the U.S., to let this happen. I mean, I'm just trying to see how you think this could play out with this very sticky issue.
I don't think that, I don't think cryptos will have an impact that is that large on government tax revenues, for the reason that if you want to not pay your taxes now, you can not pay them. It's voluntary, right? But
it's harder to track with crypto than it is now.
I don't know about that.
Unless you're using cash. If you're using cash, maybe.
I think it's a lot easier to track crypto than it is to track dollars. If you use Bitcoin and you want to do shady things, you got two options, okay? You can either become a computer security expert and understand coin mixing and hope that when you put your coins in the mixer, they actually got mixed and the chain actually got broke and you didn't just get back the same coins that you sent in. Are you a computer security expert? Do you know how to tell whether your chain was really broken or not, or whether you're still tainted or not? No, you're probably not going to be able to do that. All right, so what's your other option? You can use an anonymity-focused coin like Monero, right, and pay the transaction fee in and out. But in the end, they look at what you have, right? So if you report that you made 100 grand and you have a $200,000 car, well, that's fishy. If you report you made 100 grand and you have $1 million house, that's fishy, right? So I think that the way people, like, I don't think crypto is that useful for tax evasion. And I think that I don't see the metric by which advanced crypto adoption reduces the ability for governments to collect tax, because they would just make the laws the same, right? So like if you work at Starbucks and they take the money right out of your check for your Social Security and your employment tax, They're going to do the same thing with crypto. Like, what's the difference? Like, we know you have a store. We see you have employees. We want our money. It's either dollars or it's crypto. They don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to them. Like, they're still going to get their receipts, right?
Well, this is such a great topic because, again, there's the difference between the reality you're talking about. And of course, when you talk about it's easy to track crypto, well, yes, theoretically they can do it, but it takes a huge amount of manpower. And then, of course, there's the perception that they don't like. I mean, look, they want they want a cashless society, meaning like the crypto ruble, where they see where all the money's going. They do not like the fact that, let's say, like trillions of dollars and yen and euros are sitting in trezors and Electrum wallets and things that they have no idea that it's there, and they think that they're owed taxes on it or that it's being used. So yes, there are end ramps where they can certainly track no different, but there's going to be a general paranoia about it, especially if people at the same time start to get nervous about fiat currency and say this is a replacement for it. So there's a lot of moving parts going on here. There's the logical side of it from where you are. There's the paranoid side from where the governments go. And then there's just the inertia of this sector that's not going to be stopped, especially with all the technology. I mean, at some point, they're going to add privacy to Bitcoin, too, just like Monero. Is that right?
So yeah, it's in the works. So we've got Mimblewimble, which does a lot of cool stuff. We got confidential transactions, which does cool stuff. Atomic cross swaps would fix tons as well. There's a lot of really cool anonymity things, which for the most part you don't really need right now. How many people have really been screwed over by chain analysis? Maybe one child pornographer in history, maybe, right? So like it's just not really a big deal right now. And if you really want the anonymity, you can have it. You can learn coin mixing, or you can go to an anonymous coin, or you can go to cash, like whatever your security model, privacy choice.
Hey, we may even have Bitcoin private soon.